Our first reading is from Genesis 45, 3 to 11 and 15. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is your father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him. So dismayed were they at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come closer to me. And they came closer. He said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angered with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve you, a remnant on the earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to your father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord over all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. You shall settle in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children, as well as your flocks, your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, since there are 5 more years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have will not come to poverty. And he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. And after that, his brothers talked with him.
Our next reading is Psalm 37, 1 to 11, and 39 to 40. Do not fret because of the wicked. Do not be envious of wrongdoers. For they will soon fade like the grass, and wither like the green herb. Trust in the Lord, and do good, so you will live in the land and enjoy security. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. He will make your vindication shine like the light, and the justice of your cause like the noonday. Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Do not fret over those who prosper in their way, over those who carry out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, it leads only to evil. For the wicked shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. Yet a little while, and the wicked will be no more. Though you look diligently for their place, they will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land, and delight themselves in abundant prosperity. The salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is their refuge in the time of trouble. The Lord helps them and rescues them. He rescues them from the wicked and saves them, because they take refuge in him.
Our next reading is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 35 through 38 and 42 through 50. But someone will ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body do they come? Fool, what you sow does not come to life unless it dies. And as for what you saw, you do not sow the body that is to be, but a bare seed, perhaps of wheat or of some other grain. But God gives it a body as he has chosen, and to each kind of seed its own body. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable, what is raised is imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a physical body. It is raised a spiritual body. If there is a physical body, there is also a spiritual body. Thus it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. But it's not the spiritual that is first, but the physical, and then the spiritual. The first man was from the earth, a man of dust. The second man is from heaven. As was the man of dust, so are those who are of the dust. And as is the man of heaven, so are those who are of heaven. Just as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we will also bear the image of the man of heaven. What I am saying, brothers and sisters, is this. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does the perishable inherit the imperishable.
Chapter 6, verses 27 through 38. But I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also, and from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you, and if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. Your ancestors did to the prophets. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High. For He is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you give back. May God bless the hearing and understanding of these readings.
Can I sit here?
Suit yourself. Have I seen you here before?
No, but I've seen you. You're parked on this bench every afternoon at 3 o'clock. Regular as clockwork. You are Thumper McGee.
That's right. So, who are you and what do you want?
I'm Terry Grabelovich. We were in school together at Bay City Middle School.
You're Terry? Twinkle Toes Terry? I haven't seen you for 60 years.
That's me, here in the flesh.
Remember how I used to make you dance by throwing darts at your feet? That's why they called you Twinkle Toes.
People still call me that. I could never shake it.
And you remember that school assembly when I pulled your pants down in front of everyone?
Like it was yesterday.
And when I stuffed you in your locker and padlocked it shut?
Sure do. That was a Friday afternoon, and nobody found me until Monday morning.
That's right. Perfect timing. Good times, good times. So, Twinkle Toes, why are you looking me up now?
Well, I decided to follow Jesus. He says I should love my enemies, so I tracked you down.
Me? I'm not your enemy. We were just a couple of kids having some laughs.
You were laughing a lot more than I was.
Oh, come on. You can't be holding a grudge after 60 years.
Actually, I was holding a grudge. Jesus said to love you, and here I am. I'm not all that good yet at forgiving and loving and treating others the way I want to be treated, but I thought I'd give it a shot.
You think you need to forgive me? I didn't do anything wrong. Just couldn't take a joke.
I was in a locker for 2.5 days. Not my idea of a joke.
You always were a crybaby.
Anyway, even if I'm not good at treating others the way I want to be treated, I'm trying, so I brought you this.
What is it?
A gift. A surprise gift. It's a brand new cane. Thought it might help you get around.
Well, looky there. That's the nicest cane I've ever seen. It looks hand-carved.
Boy, look at the time. Gotta go get my hearing aids adjusted, but it's good to talk to you again.
Same to you, Twinkle Toes. Keep your pants up. Spirits up.
And I'll see you in another 60 years or so.
Did that surprise you?
Yeah.
What did you think was going to happen?
To be honest, I thought,
Wait a minute. I did too. What did you think, Colton?
well, actually, I was really surprised with the fact how clueless the guy was. The guy was. He locked the guy in the locker for 2.5 days and just thought the guy didn't take a joke.
He thought it was a joke, didn't he? Yeah. He wasn't getting it. Do you think he would have liked to be locked in a locker for 2.5
No,
days?
not at all.
Yeah, was he treating others like he would want to be treated?
No.
No. So I thought he was the one that should apologize. But the lesson here is what? What's the lesson? And to love our enemies. Yeah. I would find it hard to love somebody that did all those things to me. But he was doing it, wasn't he? Yeah. Amen? Amen.
You can't like them school lockers too much, can you?
Well, Mary Beth, aren't we supposed to go together to the next door?
What?
Aren't we supposed to go next door?
Yes, I'll be right with you.
Oh.
I went off and looked this week too, and, looked at they called it the ultimate challenge. When we watch reality TV, and we see shows like Dancing with the Stars or America's Got Talent or American Ninja Warrior and Cake Boss, all these competitive shows. You know what she's talking about? You watch them shows? Yeah. Well, she's going, yeah. And a lot of the stuff that people do on these shows is amazing, you know. Death-defying stunts, superhuman feats. Never before seen athletic accomplishments. And we got the Olympics going on. I mean, some of that is, the credibility is not too good right now, but you know, we used to see skaters do triple jumps, and that was unheard of. Now they're doing quadruple jumps, and gymnastics are performing leaps and bounds over things that they used to do. Kind of astounding what the human body can do when you put your mind and your soul into something. Many examples we see in our world today. We even see people in their 80s running marathons. We got anybody in here that's going to go out and run a marathon? Probably not. I know I wouldn't. But as we move closer to the season of Lent, we remember the trials and suffering that Jesus endured. We often find out that the bar is raised for us living in a life of faith. Jesus spoke harshly with his disciples, like, "Get behind me, Satan," and teaching only those willing to lose their life to have life. They interviewed with the church one time, and I was speaking with part of the congregation, like I did for this church, and I asked the committee if how did they respond to the problems of the world. And a lot of people of the church said that they went to the church to get away from the problems of the world, which I can understand that partly. But we're never out of the world, are we? Kind of look at that children's message there. You know, the guy being locked up, and today's society would call that bullying, wouldn't they? It would be kind of hard to forgive somebody that treated you that way all through school. I mean, you could you 2.5 days in a locker, I couldn't imagine it smelled too good. And the embarrassment, you know, there's a lot that goes with somebody bullying you, the embarrassment. The hurt feelings. And isn't that what Jesus, well, he tells us to love somebody the way we would love ourselves, or treat people the way we would want people to, the way we would want people to treat us. How do you think we'd feel being the person that locked somebody in the locker? You know, I know growing up, we've all probably seen multiple movies and TV shows with people being bullied and thinking it's funny hurting somebody else, whether it be physical hurt or emotional hurt. Jesus is basically telling us, feel how they're going to feel before we do anything. Look at, what he's saying is looking at the end product before we start. Kind of like when we're looking at to build a home, right? We're looking at schematics, or we're drawing our own things down on paper, right? And we kind of got a general idea of what we want either the home or the pole barn to look like. You have a vision in your mind, or like I said, you buy blueprints or you draw them out. And that's what Jesus is saying with individuals. Look at how they're going to be after you. Basically, think about what you're going to do to them at the end. How are they going to feel? Just start nailing a bunch of boards together, it wouldn't be too good looking at the house, would it? And there's challenges in this world. I mean, like Mary Beth had mentioned this morning, in the Ukraine, it's got to be devastating. You imagine living, I mean, they have troops on the border. So that, say if you had around that park border, that there's troops sitting on, and these people are right outside our door. There's people that are living right there next to the border. You think the end game's going to be there? These are all life's challenges that we have to deal with. Different people have different endeavors. But then we can flip the other side of that coin is if we don't help somebody by being loving to them, maybe we're part of the problem that it turns out to be their end game. Oh, that person was horrible growing up. Well, maybe sometimes people are bullies because they're being treated unfairly. I mean, we heard today in Genesis and the Gospel of Luke, we were confronted with ultimate challenges in our walks of faith. In Genesis, we learned that Joseph, who had been sold into slavery by his brother, now he's in a position in the power of Egypt. And as we heard in the stories, there was famine across the lands. He had an opportunity to take revenge on his brothers. They weren't too merciful to him in the past, were they? That would, if it would have been an action adventure movie, we would be rooting for Joseph to let him starve to death, wouldn't we? But Joseph chose mercy. Why? Because Jesus tells us to love. I think a lot of people get the word love in this biblical term, they get it wrong because they're thinking of love as how we love our children or our wife or our family members. And that's not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying culturally love them, to guide them to a life towards righteousness. I don't know about you, but I was brought up with 3 brothers and 4 sisters. If I was sold off so they could gain some money, it'd be pretty hard for me to say, yeah, I'm going to forgive you. But Joseph had God's grace. He felt that love. He knew that he could not change their hearts being the way that they were. That's what Jesus asks of us. If somebody does something to us, he's saying, stop, take a minute. If that was you, how would you feel? And how would you go about changing it? If we act out on revengeful towards them, what happens? We're just as bad as they are, ain't we? Joseph explained to them, as we heard in the scripture, God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and keep alive in you for many survivors. So what are we doing when we're acting the way Jesus tells us to act towards others? We're making more survivors, aren't we? How many of you ever watched an old Western with a posse going out after a bunch of criminals, right? All of us have seen them movies. And they catch up with the criminals, and most of the time we see these big shootouts, right? And either the whole gang is taken out or they bring some back to be put on trial for what they've done wrong, right? But Jesus is saying that if you go out and we don't share love, then we're the ones that are going to be put on trial. Joseph had the ultimate challenge. And he went through a powerful transformation, didn't he? when Jesus did the Sermon on the Plain, he said, "But I say to you, listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you, love your enemies, do good, bless, pray." This is what means love, right? It's a different feeling than what our minds comprehend what love is, right? In reading on in the passage, we encounter some troubling words, including, if anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. I looked into this verse a little bit, and kind of goes against the idea that we should love ourselves. Somebody want to share what they think? If anyone strikes your cheek, we should offer the other also? John?
I've heard it, we turn and look the other way, like, turn your focus away, and not on the insult.
Paul? Well, Jesus didn't mean that we should ignore wrongdoing, did he? A lot of people think that they read this passage and they think, okay, if they hit me in the right cheek, I should offer the left. But what he's saying is that we're supposed to rationalize the sin. But if we rationalize somebody's sin, a lot of people, a lot of times, what I had found is they mistake it for their own sins. And it says, a lot of times if we're spending our time looking at the sins of others, we're rationalizing our own sins in our own mind. That's kind of like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the speck in our eye in somebody else's eye, but we got the timber sticking out of ours and we're not seeing things clearly. And I think a lot of it was, Matthew version of saying that he was a little bit more specific on this. It says, if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, this is an important correction. As a scholar explained, Jesus lived in a right-handed world where left hands were reserved for unclean tasks. And it says to hit a person on the right cheek with your right hand would require a backhand slap. Such a blow connotes an insult, not a fist fight. We're in the modern world today, so if somebody did that to you, I'm pretty sure we'd probably see a fist fight, wouldn't we? But that was the way someone of power would reprimand a subordinate. Like a master to a slave. But to strike your equal in such a manner was socially and legally unacceptable in that time period. Carrying with a huge fine for a slave to turn the other cheek to his master would be an act of defiance, because it would require the master to use the left hand, therefore committing an unclean act. In teaching to love our enemies, Jesus did not mean we should allow ourselves to be abused or submit to evil acts. We need not comply with or give in to our enemies. However, we should not seek retribution for it either. Instead, we are to resist. Looking at the story of Joseph again, love does not require that we invite our enemies to come near. Because Joseph didn't do that. He gave them a place and Joseph moved on, didn't he? I asked for prayers today for my sister And, my sisters had a hard goal. She was living in an apartment and with her daughter, and her daughter moved back to her dad's. So my sister got a boyfriend and hurriedly moved him in with her. And the county was paying for her apartment. So when they found out the boyfriend was there, they went off his income, so they had to start paying rent. The boyfriend was only there a short period, went out of state, but my sister still had to pay rent with no income. So she was evicted. So back to the county, she was in a motel room, but she didn't. They were giving her vouchers for the motel she was in. Well, she was supposed to go to shelter, a women's shelter in Utica, and they gave her a voucher for that. And somehow there was a mix-up with the motel, and she gave the voucher to the motel, and they didn't look at it. Long story short, and the motel noticed that the voucher wasn't for the motel, so they weren't going to get paid. So my sister was kicked out in the rain the other day. Me and my wife went and got another hotel room and another hotel. So paid for 6 days for her to be there. And of course everything closed on Monday because it's President's Day, so she can't call her caseworker to tell her what happened. We're probably going to have to pay for more time. The point is she didn't do what she had to do. She felt comfortable to everybody else doing it for her. And we kind of do that as Christians, don't we? We kind of get comfortable and everything's okay. We got to work for it. Jesus tells us we got to move forward. We got to work. We got to work for it. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago, but the thing is, it's the same way with loving our enemies. We can't be held up with resentment for people. And I know most people, even me, I get angry with people, and obviously I wouldn't lock people in the locker for 2.5 days. But the thing is yes, I've had people do stuff to me that got me angry. And I got over it. And I don't look back on why, 20 years ago, I would have been like that old dude. Hey, remember when you did that? But he did it lovingly, didn't he? We let him know. I didn't think it was funny. But he gave him a gift, right? Because he was telling him, I'm going to move on. And the same thing with my sister. People are going to be there to help her, but she got to learn to help herself. So, I think that's a lot of turning that other cheek. Sometimes we just got to turn away so they can move forward themselves. Get hung up. Kind of like that stuff you picked off the tripod there this morning. This is what it means for us to be children of God. We're expected to help people in need. Look at Joseph's brothers did, but they were in need, weren't they? And what do? Joseph turned the other cheek. I'm going to help you. I'm not going to hold resentment. Because he could very well let them starve to death. Same thing, seeing that man of that other guy that came, do good to those who hate us. Bless those who curse us. And another thing, that one man kept saying, well, it was all in good fun. It was all in good fun. For him. Sometimes our behavior has to be almost superhuman. My wife would sit there and I would tell her all the time, we're just like Superman, all of us. And if you're a Christian, you're just like Superman. And she goes, oh, you gotta stop telling people that. But we are. We can alter people's lives. Tell you, Superman can't, or Batman and Robin, they can't go into somebody's life and have the ability to give them everlasting life. Jesus gave us that power. There's no kryptonite against Christianity. The devil tries, but we'll always have our cave, because if we have Jesus, we'll have our cave to be able to save lives. The thing we always got to remember is Jesus made a sacrifice for our lives, not for his. We always say he was a sacrificial lamb. He was, but that sacrifice for us, he already had eternal life. First night my sister was in the hotel room, me and my wife both woke up the next morning, and I go, I didn't sleep too good last night, because that's all I thought about was my sister. We kind of, like when everything's going good, we don't think about people. We hear from them, hey, how you doing? Oh, we're doing all right. You go to bed, you're thinking about other things. But boy, when somebody has a problem in the family, that's on your mind. Ooh, heavy. That's the love that Christ talks about. You think about people when they need it. Sometimes we don't have to help them physically. It has to be mentally, prayerfully, in prayer, hold them up in prayer. We do the joys and concerns every week. You know, we could get going for a half hour on prayer, but God knows what it is. He knows what's on our heart. Even if we don't say anything, God knows. Well, what I'd ask you is lift up your enemies. Lift up your enemies and take the weight off your own shoulders.